Travis Wayne Goodsell. Now, I'm sure the news is spread wide and far by now. The whistleblower for Enzyme Peak Associates on Tuesday testified, or was it Monday? Time goes by so fast. In the James Huntsman tithing case. James Huntsman simply wants his tithing back. The church was not using it in the manner in which he saw fit, and technically, yeah, it's criminal, it's fraudulent, but you can't launder money from one to another and cover it up from Mormons and from the, yeah, it's bad. And so, knowing that the church is involved in criminal activity, not just that they're lying about church history and about who Mormonism, or what Mormonism is all about. Mormons are now going through the stages of grief: denial, anger, retaliation, revenge, and violence. Right? Yeah, those aren't the stages of grief of that guy. Don't listen to psychologists. They don't help you. Because if you notice, by categorizing your behavior, they are brainwashing you to do exactly as they tell you you're going to do. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy that they are very successful at. And Mormons will have some, because we all do naturally, but that doesn't mean we have to conform and comply to a psycho who tells us what we're going to do. And so, what will you do once Joseph Smith's prophecies about the destruction of the church come true? You do know Joseph Smith, the founder of Mormonism, prophesied the destruction of the church, right? You read your scriptures, and you've found those passages, you understand them through the spiritual witness, and you know it's true, right? We gotta go over it? Seriously? Do you not do any study on your part? Section 101, Joseph Smith gives a parable. Starting in verse 43. He's referring to the redemption of Zion. And now I will show unto you a parable, that you may know my will concerning the redemption of Zion. Ta-da! He's talking to Joseph. A certain nobleman had a spot of land, very choice, and he said unto his servants, Go ye unto my vineyard, even upon this very choice piece of land, and plant 12 olive trees. Now we can go down to the interpretation, or we can just say the nobleman is God, and his servants are the prophets. And the vineyard, the choice piece of land, is the United States of America. The 12 olive trees, that's an allusion to the 12 tribes of Israel. We are the 12 tribes of Israel. Mormons. And set watchmen round about them. Build a tower that one may overlook the land round about, to be a watchman upon the tower. When and I worked on the footnotes for what became the 2009 edition for the scriptures for Spanish and other languages, with the guide to the scriptures replacing the topical guide and Bible dictionary. You obviously have to replace the footnotes. You can't have Bible dictionary and topical guide when you have a guide to the scriptures. Doesn't match. So there were people needed to do that work, and I was on that committee. I was on the top committee, whether you believe it or not. I made lots of changes, whether you believe it or not. I was very prominent, whether you believe it or not. And we all understood the church office building was that watchtower. And the purpose for it is like, seriously? Reason for all this, that mine olive trees may not be broken down when the enemy shall come to spoil and take upon themselves the fruit of my vineyard. What are the works of the church? Well, there are buildings that are assets, but everything in Mormonism. And if you are unfamiliar with the Edmunds-Tucker Act, this is a fulfillment. The Edmunds-Tucker Act fulfilled Section 101, except the church rose again. Guess what? Is this no longer in effect? No, because the redemption of Zion did not occur under the Edmunds-Tucker Act. So this is coming again. History is going to repeat itself. Prophecy is fulfilled multiple times over. It's a pattern. And so now the servants of the nobleman went and did as their Lord commanded them. This is Joseph Smith in the beginning. And planted the olive trees and built a hedge round about and set watchmen and began to build a tower. And while they were yet laying the foundation thereof, they began to say among themselves, and what need hath my Lord of this tower? Already, after Joseph Smith, there are those who are questioning, why would we need to do this? Everything's fine, all is well in Zion. Simple enough, right? And consulted for a long time, saying among themselves, what need hath my Lord of this tower, seeing this is a time of peace? So there was not peace under Joseph Smith, obviously. So this is referring to after Joseph is dead. Might not this money be given to the exchangers? Now, Judah, 20 pieces and 30 pieces of silver, selling out their brethren. For there is no need of these things. Now, obviously, they're not selling the church's assets, though Brigham Young tried to sell Nauvoo and then burned it. And while they were at variance one with another, they became very slothful, and they hearkened not unto the commandments of their Lord. So again, they're committing crimes. They've been caught. They've not just lied about church history. Did you even think, why did Joseph Smith do all this magical, spiritual stuff with translation and visiting angels and all this stuff, and nobody since has? I'm sure you've heard the Mormon myths, obviously, but nothing has been approved and canonized by the church. Even Nelson, talking about the 2 little girls he murdered. I have to doubt now. If he's the bad guy in the story of scripture prophecy, I have to doubt, because he goes and converts the dad. No, that's the wrong thing to do. But he says he only felt their presence. Did you catch that? He doesn't see the 2 little girls. It's not like The Shining. and so he goes and tricks the dad into becoming Mormon and paying tithing. So let's carry on. Let's see. And here we go in 51. Here's the prophecy, guys. And the enemy came by night and broke down the hedge. And the servants of the nobleman, those are the prophets in the future, which is right now, arose and were affrighted and fled. And the enemy destroyed their works and broke down the olive trees. The church will be disincorporated again. This is the prophecy. Is Joseph Smith a true prophet of God? Or is he fake and you're just using him to get people into the church? We're witnessing it. The church is guilty of crime. The punishment is disincorporation. Prophecy is about to be fulfilled, assuming that the church doesn't go on a slaughtering of the judge, and that the judge doesn't issue a criminal referral as they're supposed to. And so 52, the nobleman returns and says, "Hey, why? What is the cause of this great evil? Ought ye not to have done even as I commanded you?" All this stuff was to prepare for this prophesied event. And so 55, and the Lord of the vineyard said unto one of his servants, "Go and gather together the residue of my servants." Remember, this is the redemption of Zion. And so after the destruction, one is called among them to gather the Mormons. So where does that come from? What's that all about? Section 103, verse 16. Verse 15 says, "Behold, I say unto you, the redemption of Zion must needs come by power. Therefore I will raise up unto my people, the Mormons, a man who shall lead them like as Moses led the children of Israel." There he is. "For ye are the children of Israel, the 12 olive trees, and the seed of Abraham, and you must needs be led out of bondage." See, all that section 101 gotten lazy, prophets are lazy, neglecting, wanting to gain interest in the stock market and in the banks rather than caring for the olive trees. That's all part of wickedness. Mormons are in bondage. They are forced to pay tithing. "Even as your fathers were led at first, even so shall the redemption of Zion be." Is Joseph Smith a true and living prophet, or is he a fraud, Mormons? This is going to happen. whether you accept it or not, whether you put a thumbs down on my video or not. This is in the process. And so let's go to section 45 to find out what else is involved in this destruction. Section 45, verse 1. Hearken, O ye people of my church. So it's not the 12 apostles in the gospel stories. It's Mormons. And verse 2, and again I say, hearken unto my voice, lest death shall overtake you. In an hour when you think not, the summer shall be past, and the harvest ended, and your souls not saved. There we are. Listen to him who is the advocate, who is pleading your cause before him. Spare the Mormons who believe. Hearken, O ye people of my church, and ye elders, listen together, and hear my voice while it is called today, and harden not your hearts. How many of you already hardened your heart, put a thumbs down, stormed off with the stages of grief? The revenge, retaliation, anger, violence. And so here, for verily I say unto you that I am Alpha and Omega. Those are the code for Son Amen, not Jesus. Jesus is the code too. Do we need to go over that with you again before I finish this? Section 95 and 97, Son Amen. 97, he goes over it. Even Alphas and Omegas, Alpha and Omega, even Jesus Christ. So since Alpha and Omega is the code, Jesus Christ is likewise the code. Joseph talked about this future Mormon who's going to redeem Zion with a latter-day Exodus as Moses, who is the Christ of the Jews, not Christians. How many Mormons believe Mormonism is Christian? Oops. You've been deceived by the false prophets who got lazy and allowed the church to be destroyed. I came unto my own. He came among Mormons, born and raised, mortal man, mortal parents, unto the Mormons, and Mormons received him not. Because you think you're Christian. He's talking to the church. You are supposed to become sons of God, to have eternal life with the everlasting covenant of marriage, to be the light of the world, the standard for my people. For the marriage covenant was supposed to be the standard for the world. And I will show it plainly as I showed it unto my disciples as I stood before them in the flesh. You see what he did there? He is taking Matthew chapter 24 because he's about to, he's giving at the end of this section, he says we are now supposed to translate, let's revise, Sidney Rigdon's involved here, revise the New Testament, because that's what Sidney wanted to do and left the Campbellites, because Alexander Campbell only wanted to do the New Testament, not harmonize both the Old and the New Testament together. Sidney Rigdon wanted to do that. So, gee, Sidney Rigdon joins and immediately is put to work on this. His desire. Isn't that interesting? It's almost as if he was getting paid for some work that he had done. I wonder what work that could have been. All ex-Mormons know that answer, don't you? Because they had no money to pay him. So they had to get the money from Martin Harris, who destroyed the 116 pages. Had to be rewritten. And so, as I've told you before, we're not Christian. And he doesn't come out and call it false, but as he is saying that what is happening in the Gospels, with Matthew 24 specifically, as he is retelling it quite dramatically, no day and hour in there, because they know about the signs in the heavens of the timing of the latter day events. I've gone over that with you. It is very clear that Joseph understands that the gospel stories are not history, that they are prophecy for the latter days, as section 45 is an illustration. The Jews are Mormons. Jew is code. Remember, the Doctrine and Covenants is coded. In 1981, with the first footnoting, they partially decoded. They missed a lot. Right here, Joseph is telling us, I am talking to the church as I talk to my disciples. So the Jews are now Mormons. Jerusalem, now that Brigham Young is established, Utah, Brigham Young is established, did I say Brigham Young? Utah is Judah. Did you know that Judah, there was no J, that J is the European corruption of the phonetics. It's Judah. Spell past. Which version do you use? The ED or the T? It's because D and T are phonetically the same. Judah is Utah. Isn't that interesting? The headquarters perfectly matches. And so now as we go over it, and now ye behold this temple, which is in Jerusalem, Salt Lake City, which ye call the house of God. And your enemies say that this house shall never fall. Your enemies shall say it'll never fall. Verily I say unto you that desolation shall come upon this generation. Do you see what's going on? He knows Jesus of the Gospels is not real. He knows that Gospels are not history. He has turned section 45 into the prophesied fulfillment. He's decoded the Gospels for you. The Gospels are coded by prophecy. Mormons are the Jews. Utah is Judah. Jerusalem is Salt Lake City. And there's the destruction from 101's parable. And this people shall be destroyed and scattered among all nations. And this temple which ye now see shall be thrown down, that there shall not be left one stone upon another. Did the Kirtland Temple have a stone? No. It was a typical wood frame. Huh. Manti Temple has limestone like the Jerusalem Temple did. But the headquarters temple is the only one with granite stone. The Salt Lake Temple and the Logan Temple have the inverted pentagram like the Nauvoo Temple, which the church restored. Clearly showing to all Mormons in the world that we're the church of the devil. Isn't that great? A great and abominable church, Babylon, the whore of all the earth, that is to be destroyed. Joseph here is saying, yep, I'm going to be murdered, and the big group, the one involved with my murder, is going to be the great and abominable church. So yes, the Book of Mormon is coded. That's why Joseph and all of his activities in the beginning seem so fantastical, that no one else has ever done anything like it, because the church history is coded too. He's not Jesus who appears to Joseph, he's son Ammon, the future last days Messiah, not Jesus. It is Nephi who gave gold Egyptian plates buried in the ground. Are you familiar with the Knights Templar of the York Rites Freemasons? Friday the 13th, they had to flee. Came to America with their Egyptian gold plates and buried them in the ground in the caves in southern Illinois. What's significant about southern Illinois? You familiar with the first and third days of darkness that cross over America? We had the first one already. In Utah, we saw it as a partial eclipse. Where's the third one? Where does it cross? Yeah. I've gone over all that. Adam on Diamond, first to cross, last to cross will be Kirtland and the farm. They all knew, guys. It's the church who is deceiving us and keeping us ignorant about the latter days. And so here you go. What Jesus of the gospel story got arrested for, terrorism, saying the temple was going to be destroyed. But I said it was going to be built up again in 3 days. It's referring to the Salt Lake Temple. I've tried to tell you and warn you all these 4 years, trying step by step to inform you, to teach you how to do it for yourself. Having learned Paleo-Hebrew, deciphered it, that led me to deciphering Egyptian petroglyphs because they're not listed in the sign lists. They only translate text. Joseph Smith is a translator of Hebrew and Egyptian. But the church says no. And so I've taught you. I've restored the Bible for you, old and new, using the Egyptian stories and petroglyphs from which the Bible got their stories from. The prophecies go all the way back to the Egyptians. They knew the dates. They knew the place. Wow. And we're not talking 4000 BCE. The flood occurred in 10,500 BCE. I did those videos. I did the one not too long ago about Alberta confirming the date of the worldwide flood. And so the pyramids were built 12,000 BCE, not 10,000 BCE as the movie says. Nope, gotta go back further. But even 10,000 BCE, when you have 10,500 as the flood, I see where they were going with that, claiming that those are the Tower of Babel, which is actually Lebanon, not Babylon, because it refers to the Egyptian story. The whole religion, the whole theology, everything is not what the church has been telling us. Joseph Smith was trying to tell us something else. So at that point, because right now you're still in dismay, you're like, what the hell happened? I never expected this. It's the church. It's not supposed to fall. Angry, retaliation, revenge, violence, etc. What do you do for those when they break and they become humble? Teachable. We already know what to do. The Book of Mormon tells us what to do. Alma 32. Technically, I think it begins in 30. Alma and Amulek come across the Zoramites. The rich Zoramites kicked out the poor Zoramites. And Alma said, oh, great! They've been humbled. I can now correct their doctrinal information to restore them so that they don't have this faith crisis. And that's what you do. It is necessary when people are broken from their original belief system that is wrong, that they need to be correctly doctrinated, correctly taught truth. Mormons need this. At the point when they are broken, when they are no longer angry, revengeful, violent, etc., they need to be taught correctly. They can't be lied to anymore. And it's unclear as to whether the internet will still be accessible for you to watch my videos. Possibly. We'll see. But you have to tell the truth. You can't lie. Because you may think that telling a lie is protecting people. You know, if they learned the truth, they couldn't handle the truth. Well, no, you've got to tell the truth. You've got to trust that the truth will win out. Now, when Hollywood does this in their shows, I didn't want to tell you I cheated on you. Yeah, well, you should tell and leave, because you're the bad guy. Don't try to twist it to make yourself the good guy and that you were tormented about it. You were bad. That's why you didn't want to tell the truth. It's called a cover-up. But people need a strong foundation upon which to build on. We are supposed to do this with children. We're supposed to teach them correctly so that they can govern themselves. Yeah, that correct doctrine came from Joseph, didn't it? And so, are Mormons interested? Because ex-Mormons aren't. The 13 million who have said, I want nothing more to do with this church, they don't want anything to do with the restoring of Joseph's original organization, because they believe the lie that Joseph Smith was the bad guy, rather than Brigham Young, who lied about Joseph to justify doing publicly and openly what he lied about Joseph doing in secret. And so, how was prophecy going to be fulfilled if nobody cares and wants to have a restored religion? You know, during your faith crisis, yes, you needed to be told the truth, and you weren't. You go to other ex-Mormons, and misery loves company, but you're still not told the truth. The only truth you know is that the church lied to you and betrayed you. You still don't have a solid foundation. And so predators in the psychological world have taken advantage of ex-Mormons and have become popular and exploit you, get you to confess and rehash the horrors that you went through to keep you broken so that they can control you. Do I need to name names of a particular one who's popular among ex-Mormons? Has a lot of followers, has a couple of different channels now on YouTube. Truth, and truth only, not mind manipulation, not emotional manipulation. Truth. So is there anybody interested in what our scriptures were supposed to be composed of? We're supposed to have the Apocrypha. Remember, Joseph Smith has a whole section on it saying it's good to go. Why did Kimball take it out? Why couldn't any of the prophets? Oh, right, they're false prophets. They don't have the gift of translation. Right, Nelson? who botched Israel over the pulpit of conference and then tried to cover it up, and I kept exposing him. He's supposed to be the whole point and purpose of the name Israel. But instead, he's the false prophet. This man like Moses is the real person for which Israel was renamed. As Moses himself even prophesied of. Are you even interested in other scriptures? Ezekiel 37. Do you know that that's been done? And it's not the Book of Mormon that says it still needs to be done. Why do you think Joseph was so focused on correcting the Bible? Never finished. It needs to be done. Guess who's done it? Theology. Are you even interested in the true theology, or are you still set that God's plan of happiness is to take away agency because it's for their own good? To have all these standards and values and for strengths of youth, to control people, to take away their agency, to have them fixated on idol worshiping rather than truth. You even interested in having the temple set back in order? Section 85. This Mormon Moses is now called the One Mighty and Strong to set in order the temple. You guys even interested in having the rituals of the original organization restored? Corrected? No more endowment ceremony with the loyalty oaths and the punishments of death that's still in there with the thumb knife. No more obeying your husband. You need to be nice to him. Come on. But you're not his slave. You're not his sex slave in the marriage ceremony. You are not his property, which is why the first obedience oath was established. No more polygamy. Law of chastity? Yeah, no. No more obedience to men. You are now going to be told the truth. And the truth will guide you to do the right thing. That's what prophets are for. They're not to be followed, they're to be listened to so that you can govern yourself. They are to warn in advance of a coronavirus, section 45, verse 31. They are to be warned in advance that the Russians are coming. The Russians are coming. The prophets are supposed to speak out against a president of the United States who's a racist, sexist, bigot, and hater of the poor. Not join him by turning Utah into a slave state. Are you even interested in Joseph's organization, administration? Because what we have is nothing like Joseph Smith had set up. Are you even interested? I mean, there are some who are, with my videos, about how to understand the signs in the heavens. Are you even interested in learning Paleo-Hebrew and Egyptian, so that you can study the scriptures from their original? That's the big question. Because Nelson's not going to teach you. None of the prophets are going to teach you. They're about to be destroyed, fulfilling prophecy, as Joseph Smith clearly sets forth for you. Do you want to be helped and healed of your faith crisis? Or are you just going to find others who are in misery as well and take comfort in others' misery? Wow, they have it worse than I do. They're now my new friend because I don't feel so bad anymore. Or do you actually want real peace, safety, and refuge? Because it just begins with the church. The whole world will be at war. Everything will collapse. The economy, the governments. Or do you just want to go with the flow with your misery company? Think about it, because you don't have much time to think about it. But we'll see how much time, obviously. We do know that 2023, it will kick up into high gear. And I've told you why. Marjorie Taylor Greene, she wrote out articles of impeachment for Biden and Harris. They've told us that's exactly what they're going to do. So for the 2022 election, it's going to be a MAGA sweep in Congress. They've rigged it. The Supreme Court has stamped their approval for them to do it. So now we're just waiting, and then they'll indict Biden and Harris, and the Speaker of the House, who will be MAGA, will say, Trump, here you go, here are the keys to the kingdom, and all hell will break loose. Because we will really have a rigged election, won't we? See, this is what he does and got MAGA to do. To falsely accuse so that they could do it. Because it's being done everywhere. It's just survival of the fittest. Every man for himself. And that will lead to war, violence, retaliation, vengeance, anger. Do you even care to know the truth?